In this short video, I'm going to read a movie review for the movie titled The Giver, released in theaters in 2014, for the purpose of illustrating two things: thinking aloud while reading, and noticing claims in the text. In so doing, I'll be illustrating an instructional strategy that you in turn might use in your classroom with your students with a text drawn from your curriculum. Before I get started, a couple of quick reminders. First, regarding thinking aloud. As you know, thinking aloud simply means verbalizing the thoughts and reactions that you, the reader, have flooding through your mind when you read a text like this one, or any text. The purpose of thinking aloud in front of your students is to reveal to them what's happening during reading in the mind of a proficient reader, making visible, or at least audible to them, the internal mental work that's a normal and important part of successful reading. Second, with regard to noticing claims in the text, as you've already learned earlier in this module, claims come in different shapes and sizes and can be explicit and directly stated, or implied, meaning that it's left somewhat or entirely to the reader to infer them. In this text I'm about to read, we'll see a mix of explicit and implied claims. So here we go. And again, I'm reading this review with a particular focus on finding the claims it contains. So even as I start reading here, 20 years ago, Lois Lowry's dystopian young adult novel, The Giver, won the Newbery Medal. Even as I start reading there, I'm mentally reviewing in my head what I know about claims and the different types of claims. So here I'm asking myself, is that a claim? I guess it is a claim of fact, since it asserts that the novel won the prize 20 years ago. But that seems pretty straightforward and not controversial. So at first glance, I think I'm not going to pay too much attention to that right now. I'll continue reading. Creepy and prophetic, told in a kind of flat affect voice. It has been a staple in middle school literature curriculum ever since, ever since 20 years ago, introducing young students to sophisticated ethical and moral concepts that will help them recognize its precedence when they come to read the works of George Orwell or Aldous Huxley. Okay, that's a long sentence, and it travels quite some distance. Starts with that point here about the giver being creepy and prophetic, and then connects the giver to some other famous authors and books, like George Orwell and Aldous Huxley. So in my mind, I'm reviewing all that, and actually I'm rereading the sentence since it was so long. Creepy and prophetic sort of stands out to me as I reread here, because they seem like more emotion-heavy words, especially creepy, and I find myself asking, is this the personal opinion or reaction of Sheila O'Malley here, who wrote this review, or is this a more generally accepted assessment of the novel, that it's creepy? It's definitely a claim, I think, something that one person or many people have asserted about Lowry's novel, so I'm mentally marking that as a claim. But now I'm also starting to think that there's something else going on in these first two sentences, and I'm putting them together in my mind. I'm starting to see a bigger implied claim coming into view. That first sentence talked about the Newbery Medal, and now this second part is connecting Lowry's novel to those famous authors and their books. So putting those two things together, I'm starting to think that a big implied claim here is that Lowry's The Giver is a truly great novel, and that it deserves to be thought of alongside Orwell's 1984, that's a book he wrote, or Huxley's Brave New World. So yeah, Sheila O'Malley, the author here, didn't explicitly and boldly state that Lowry's The Giver is a great novel, but it's strongly implied. Okay, I'm going to read on from here. Jeff Bridges, he's an actor, I've heard his name, I recognize his name. Jeff Bridges has been attached as a producer to the film project for almost 20 years, and finally The Giver is here, with Bridges in the title role. Okay. Directed by Philip Noyce, with an adaptation of the book by Michael Mitnick. Okay, there's quite a few names here, some of which I don't recognize or really know much about, but I'm thinking that's okay. They seem like just maybe little details mentioned in passing, not the main point of the review. So I'm going to read on. The Giver gives us the overall structure of Lowry's original work, adds a couple of understandable details, like a sweet little romance, and then derails into an action movie in its final sequence, complete with attacks from the air and a high-tech command center. Okay, so that word derails really jumps out at me here because it's such a dramatic and interesting verb, and also because it came as a bit of a surprise while I was reading there. Everything so far was sounding pretty good about the novel and the movie. All the information about the novel and the movie was positive, but here with the word derails, the author, so Sheila O'Malley here, seems to be saying something went wrong. Okay, so let's read on and find out more about what she's saying exactly. It says, children have been thrilled by the book for 20 years, and a chase scene still proved irresistible, despite a truly pained performance from Jeff Bridges and a beautifully imagined three-dimensional futuristic world. The Giver, in wanting to connect itself to more recent young adult franchises, sacrifices subtlety, inference, and power. Okay, so here at the end, I think I am seeing a big claim here, the big claim maybe of this movie review coming into focus. O'Malley is saying the novel is great, and there's some great things about the movie too, but then there's a huge problem. The folks who made the movie decided to include some dramatic, chase and fighting scenes that are maybe not part of the novel, and that actually make the movie less powerful and less interesting. I think that's what the ending is saying here. In wanting to connect itself to young adult franchises, it sacrifices subtlety, inference, and power. So, right, that's a definite claim, and it's a claim of judgment. It's O'Malley's judgment that the fight scenes and the chase scenes kind of ruin the movie at the end. Other people, other viewers of the movie may disagree with her, but that's what she's claiming. And I'm guessing that if we read on and finish this movie review, O'Malley will give us many more details, more evidence to support that claim. So as we finish this first paragraph, we've gone from some just pretty straightforward factual claims to some implied claims about the novel and how great it is, and some positive statements, claims of judgment about the movie, to this really big main claim of this review that sadly the ending of the movie with the chase and fight scenes kind of ruined the movie.